What if I told you that no country truly rises or falls on its own? Not because of culture, not because of leadership, not even because of natural resources, but because of a silent algorithm, an invisible system of rules, incentives, and financial pressures that quietly decides which nations will grow rich and which will drown in collapse. There is no headquarters, no single mastermind, no official name. Yet it has survived wars, revolutions, empires, and ideologies. And once a nation enters its logic, escape becomes nearly impossible. Tonight, we are not asking who controls the world. We are uncovering how the system itself makes decisions without ever announcing them. We are taught a comforting story. That countries succeed because they work hard. That they fail because of corruption or incompetence. That prosperity is earned and collapse is deserved. But history doesn't support this narrative. Why did post-war Germany rise rapidly while others stagnated? Why did South Korea transform from poverty to industrial power? Why did Argentina, once richer than many European nations, collapse repeatedly? Why do debt crises strike the same regions again and again? The surface explanations change, the pattern does not. Behind elections, trade deals, development loans, and monetary reforms lies a deeper structure, one built on debt, currency control, capital flows, and interest mathematics. Not politics. Not morality, math. The algorithm did not begin with computers. It began with credit. In the late 17th and early 18th centuries, European empires faced a problem. Wars were expensive, and taxation alone could not sustain them. The solution was revolutionary: borrow money, pay interest, roll over the debt indefinitely. This led to the birth of central banking, government bonds, and national debt as a permanent feature, not a temporary emergency. By the 19th century, this system expanded globally. Colonial powers did not just conquer land, they exported financial architecture, currencies tied to foreign banks, trade priced in external units, debt issued in currencies the debtor could not print. This was the first rule of the algorithm: control the money, and you don't need to control the flag. After World War II, the algorithm matured. The Bretton Woods system reorganized the global economy around fixed exchange rates, reserve currencies, and international financial institutions. On paper, it was about stability. In practice, it created tiers. At the top, countries that issued reserve currencies. They could borrow cheaply. They could run deficits without immediate collapse. They could export inflation. Below them, countries that borrow in foreign currencies. Their debt grew faster than their economies. A single shock could destroy decades of progress. Development loans arrived with conditions. Structural adjustments followed. Local industries weakened. Capital flowed outward. This wasn't cruelty. It was logic. The algorithm rewarded nations that absorbed capital inflows without losing monetary control. It punished those that didn't, and over time the gap widened. Here's the part rarely explained. The algorithm runs on four inputs: currency sovereignty, debt denomination, interest rate differentials, capital mobility. If a nation borrows in its own currency, it gains flexibility. If it borrows in foreign currency, it inherits fragility. If capital can leave faster than value is created, collapse accelerates. If interest compounds faster than growth, debt becomes unpayable by design. Markets don't panic randomly. They respond to signals. And once confidence breaks, the algorithm flips from growth mode to extraction mode. Every collapse follows the same sequence. First, optimism. Foreign investment pours in. Credit expands. Growth looks real. Then imbalance. Imports outpace exports. Debt rises quietly. Warnings are ignored. Then shock. It could be rising interest rates, a commodity price crash, a political crisis, a global downturn. Suddenly capital reverses. Currencies fall. Debt explodes overnight. Inflation spikes. Social stability cracks. And the algorithm executes its harshest function: privatize gains, socialize losses. When nations collapse, the headlines blame leaders. But the outcomes are predictable. Wages fall, assets sell, cheap public services are cut, strategic resources are sold, austerity replaces sovereignty. Meanwhile, debt often increases, not decreases. Why? Because the algorithm prioritizes repayment over recovery. It does not care about unemployment. It does not care about democracy. It does not care about human cost. It only responds to balance sheets. Governments try everything: currency pegs, austerity, stimulus, debt restructuring, new loans to pay old ones. But most fixes operate inside the algorithm. They adjust symptoms, not structure. Without control over currency, capital flows, and debt terms, nations are simply optimizing within constraints designed elsewhere. The algorithm remains intact. Today, the system looks more complex but behaves the same. Debt levels are at historic highs. Interest rates fluctuate like weapons. Capital moves in milliseconds. Emerging markets face sudden reversals. Advanced economies quietly monetize debt. Inequality widens globally. Even powerful nations are no longer immune. Because once debt exceeds growth permanently, the algorithm turns inward. Collapse doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like stagnation. Sometimes it looks like inflation. Sometimes it looks like declining trust. But the logic is identical. So what is this silent algorithm? It is not a computer program. It is the combined logic of debt-based money, interest compounding, capital mobility, and asymmetric power. No single villain. No master plan. Just a system that rewards certain positions and punishes others consistently over time. Those who write the rules don't need to conspire. The math does the work for them. First, economic success is less about effort and more about monetary position. Second, debt is not neutral. The terms decide destiny. Third, once a nation loses control of its financial levers, political change alone cannot save it. The algorithm has no loyalty, not to nations, not to citizens, not even to stability. As global debt rises and trust erodes, the question is no longer who will collapse, but how many and how quietly. If this changed how you see money, power, and national success, subscribe. Because this channel doesn't follow headlines, we follow the systems beneath them. And the next video explores what happens when the algorithm finally runs out of inputs.